Hey, I think we got it. Finally. All right, happy Thursday, everyone. My name is Adam Ruff, product designer at AngelList, and also the creator of. And I've got Echo, yeah. Creator of UX Design Contest, and that's really what tonight's stream is going to be about. So, if you have any questions, of course, questions always welcome in chat. Let me make sure I have my chat popped out. Extra thanks to Ralph for letting me know that people can see chat even though I'm not live. That's super helpful because I had a bunch of problems. It looked like my internet connection was not quite fast enough. By the way, what kind of internet connections do people have? Right now I have Comcast, cable internet, and AT&T fiber. I don't know what they call. Maybe they should call it that, AT&T fiber. Is available now, and I'm considering it. Not sure how much better or faster it's going to be. If you have experience, let me know. Would love to hear it. I feel like technology is wonderful. I'm stifling warm in this room, so I'm gonna open up my little Nest app on my phone and say, please make it cooler. There we go. Now I'll get some more AC going. Whew. How are you dealing with the heat and humidity, Ralph? I heard it's pretty hot in New York these days. All right, real quick. So for anyone who's joining who didn't catch last week's intro to this contest, like what's this contest about? I'll post the link in chat real quick. Boom. This contest, which is ending this weekend, Sunday, 3 days, plenty of time to enter, is all about designing an awesome interactive prototype with UX Pin. So get some practice using different tools and also really thinking about what it takes to make a really, really nice interactive prototype that feels like a real website or web app. Terrible yesterday. It's going to be the same way tomorrow and Saturday too. Ooh, man, feel for ya. Well, I hope you have something fun planned, so at least you can have some fun while the weather is miserable. Or you get some extra sleep. And then to see the details, go into details over here. And I'll just scroll down to this place, how to enter. So use UX Pin. We went over a whole bunch of these last week. Conditional interactions, using some data, doing some form input, some states. And then the other part is to use one of these super simple presentation recording tools, video recording tools that will record your screenshot, record your webcam, and allow you to do a little narrated presentation. So tonight we're going to focus on two things. One, this visual design portion. 20% of the criteria weight is on visual design, so we're going to talk a little bit about that and do a little bit of work on that, and then the presentation portion. Before we dive in and get started, I want to share just a couple tools that I've been using quite a bit at work at AngelList, and they've been pretty phenomenal, and I really like using them, so I just want to share them and make sure other designers know that these are some really helpful tools, especially when you're working with other people. So the first I'll paste in chat is called Abstract, and it is essentially, if you're familiar with GitHub and Git and version control on the development side, it's similar to that for sketch files. One place to version, manage, and collaborate on sketch files. So for example, I created a new sketch file yesterday for my design partner Chad and I to work on. We've got this new project. We're revamping this experience really from the ground up, more or less. And I created a file, and then I created a branch for working on my portion as we divide and conquer, and he can make his own branch, and then we'll put them together and we'll have this awesome sketch file at the end. And it's pretty cool. So again, this is really for collaboration. If you're just a solo designer or just freelancing on your own, I'm not sure that it has a ton of benefits for you, and I'm not even sure. Let's see if they have a free version. They may have a trial, but it looks like even the smallest version is $9 per month. I mean, I guess it gives you your storage stuff. You can, if you delete things and you forgot, you can roll back to different versions. So there's still some benefits. You can invite viewers, pretty reasonably priced. So that's Abstract. And then Notion is the, I guess, super powered document, no code kind of app solution product that I've been using at work. My whole product team uses it. I've been using it at home as well for my own projects for a few things. And it's just super cool how flexible and easy it is. There's a ton of, it's not to say there's no friction or pain points. There's a ton of super frustrating stuff, like not being able to easily open multiple Notions. You can open multiple desktop windows, but then when you put them down at the screen, it just says Notion desktops, and I have to like open them all up to try to find the thing I'm looking for. The search is pretty good. Favoriting I use a lot to try to keep the things I care about in one space. And I just realized I'm not showing any of my screen as I'm talking about all this. Welcome to live streaming. So we'll just do a quick thing. UX design contest. This is what I talked about. Criteria, visual design stuff. Abstract. So you just see what this is. Cool. Now we're on Notion. To-do lists. All kinds of, come on, show something else. Embed stuff. Create bulleted lists. All kinds of cool stuff. Make a little spreadsheet or database. To me, it's not quite as easy to use or powerful as Airtable, and it also doesn't, I still find myself using Google Sheets for things as well, but it is super cool in its flexibility in that it can do a decent job of like a lot of things these other tools do. So that is Notion. Ralph got recommended another book, A Project Guide to UX Design. A Project Guide to UX Design. He's asking if I heard of it. I think if I see the cover in Amazon, I'm gonna have a better sense. I don't believe I own it. It doesn't sound that familiar. Let's go with this one. Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks like, oh, this is interesting. This is the second edition and the first edition. So, who's making it? Voices That Matter. Russ Unger, Carolyn Chandler. So, I think I've heard of it or I've seen it. I have zero experience with it, so I haven't read it, haven't heard from people who've read it. I guess we could look at the reviews. Well written, clearly written by top professionals, blah, blah, blah. Don't really know exactly what the audience is or what the use is. If you're a young designer entering or contemplating entering UX field, this canonical book, blah, blah, blah. Understand various roles, obtain consensus, define scope, conduct user research, understand, communicate, design and prototype, make a product findable, search, plan for development. Okay, so it seems to be maybe positioning itself as a guide for people who want to get into UX design as a profession. Why is it called a project guide? So that makes me think there's a bunch of projects, but I don't know, maybe it's a guide to doing UX design projects. Ralph's asking, there was an information architecture book you mentioned before. Who was the author about one? Information architecture. Which one was it? Was it this one, the classic polar bear book? Because that one's like, that's a super classic one. I feel like the book I've been thinking about or talking about the most recently is, especially for this design contest, is Micro Interactions. I'll just copy this link for you too, Ralph. You think it was the bear one? I read that one quite a while ago. I think it's probably like, I think it might be like 6 or 7 years old. Let's see, when was this? Oh, maybe not that old. Feels, time flies, right? Oh, this is 4th edition. So when was the 1st edition? Is there an easy way to see other editions of the book? Where do you even do that on Amazon? I have no idea. If there's a way to do it, it's beyond me. I'm just curious. I want to see if I can find the 1st edition and see when it came out. Oh wow. So well, here's at least one. 1998. So that's actually like 20 years old. Obviously the later version has been updated and things. 4th edition is a little sooner. Yeah, that one's classic. Frank, how's it going? All right, we got that stuff out of the way. Sketch, Notion, design contest time. Let's see, I got my little design contest thing going on the bottom. Fantastic. Just a little overview, just a refresh for what I did last time. And again, this was effectively my first time using UXPin. If you're curious to see my adventure, you can check out last week's stream. And I ended up with something that was functional and ugly. And let's see, so I've got just really simple stuff here. And if I go to preview prototype, let's see, is this, there we go. So what I could do is I have these different hover effects, right? And I can, if I click on Maui, it's going to remove this one. If I click on Tokyo, it's going to remove that one. If I go to San Francisco, and then it's also updating this list. Ooh, cool, with some different activities, right? And I think I have it set up for Maui. And when you pick that you're going to do whale watching, then this is where things kind of break and get super ugly. But this is actually this data is delivered from a Google Doc. So that's freaking next level stuff. That's pretty awesome. So you can create essentially your own little database from a Google Doc and use it with UXPin and pull in this information. Now, obviously I don't have things formatted great for the data to make it look super cool. But that's essentially what I'm going to be looking at tonight. The visual aspects. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, sure, there's a way to. That looks big enough. I'm going to take a few screenshots and bring them to Sketch. I think the one thing I learned, or at least one of my takeaways. Oh, where is Sketch? I don't have Sketch going yet. One of my takeaways is it's probably a lot better to start from Sketch when you're doing UXPin, because building things in UXPin isn't as nice as Sketch. Okay, so I've got this up, UX Design Contest 10, Visual Design Presentation. I'm going to start pasting stuff from UX Pin. And then we'll talk a little bit. I'll think aloud as I'm doing this visual design stuff. I've really had some fun today. I was pretty much heads down the entire day. Got to work on taking a bunch of ideas from analog design workshops and getting them into Sketch and coming up with some what I think are pretty snazzy visual designs. And I'm gonna do the same kind of thing. Whoops, I don't want it to be quite that big because then we can't see it. All right, so a few things. Let's see. I'm creating a site. It's called Lugless. Great, but that's not a great logo. Yeah? No, it's not. So the first thing I'm gonna do, and let's make this nice and big so you can see it. By the way, if anything is ever too small or difficult to see, let me know. Like I've been pretty much taking my glasses off all week this week to let my eyes rest, and so I have a special sensitivity and appreciation for making sure stuff is easy on your eyes. I just want to do a quick to-do list. I should show how to use Notion to do this. But first, branding, logo type. Just gonna do a simple logo type. Then I'm going to, let's pick out some colors, color palette. And then let's do typography for the app. So this is I'll just say typography. And fourth, let's do, so we've got some buttons, so radios and checkboxes, and then cards. Cool. Let's dive in. So the first thing I want to do is figure out a really simple logo type. Now, one thing I could do, right, if I feel like I have tons of great fonts on my computer already, I'm just going to type in the word that I'm using. I'm going to use Sketch's transform, so it's capital. And then I'll just start scrolling through. Ooh, that's kind of cool. That one's kind of fun as well. Start scrolling through and seeing some stuff. I think this is probably going to, I think this service would be, who's this catering to? This is my fantasy service idea too, is I tell this site where I'm going, what kind of stuff I want to do, and I don't pack. There's no packing involved. They just have everything. They have clothes that fit me, like everything's clean. They have like a really cool camera I can borrow. They have really nice like snorkel equipment. They have great environmentally friendly and effective sunscreen. I've got like sunglasses. There's sandals. It's everything. Toothbrush, toothpaste. Like literally, I just don't pack anything. That's my fantasy. So I feel like this is going to be a little, it's kind of it's got like travel vibe. Oh, that's interesting. It's got kind of fun, but I also feel like it's going to be an expensive service. All right, I don't know. I'm not super inspired by what I'm seeing, so I'm gonna go over to fonts.google.com, and this will be a great opportunity to show how you can use Google. So what you can do is you can replace all the default text with your own, and then you can apply to all of them. Cool. That's, oh wow, that's really interesting. See that one? I guess it's like bamboo style. And then where's all the I feel like it's missing. Where's the sidebar that I usually see? Sort by trending now. Sort by most popular. Maybe let's go with something new. Let's see, what are the weird newest things? Oh, this one's interesting. Look at this. It's got some real playfulness. It's got this contrast between the weights and things. This is actually pretty cool. I'm going to go with this one. See? You never know what you're going to find when you hop over to the Google Fonts. And the great thing is, you know that these are freely available. You don't need to pay for these. Just get them. Get them and go. All right, we'll download this. Got it. And then I'll open up Font Book. I'll bring these windows up so you can see what I'm doing. Not doing anything terribly exciting. Dragging a folder. Boom. All right. Berrycito. Cool. Check. Strike through, strike through. Boom. All right. Let's change this to our Berrycito. Fantastic. Look at that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Great. And then let's color palette. I'm going to go right back on. See what new things are around. Systematic. Can almost type. Color palette. No, I actually want a super simple. We could look at just using material, but I'm actually looking for a tool that will help me. Color designer, simple palette generator. That sounds like something that I want. What does it look like? Interesting. How does this work? Color harmonies. So do you pick a main color here? I don't really understand. Okay, so you can pick these. All right. So blue is a super fairly neutral color. I think it works good for travel. Let's do this one. And should we just use this palette here? What is this? How do we, can I replace this? How does this tool work exactly? Reset palette, generate link, presentation mode. All right, I'm just gonna take this as my base. Actually, I'm gonna do something more saturated. Let's do this. Cool, copy to clipboard. I'm actually just gonna build one out from this real quickly. Nice. And one thing I'm gonna do real quick is test the color contrast. Color contrast checker. No, that's actually not the one I want. Color contrast ratio. Here we go. So let's do white with, boom. Okay, cool. So I could use this for link colors on white. I can use white on this color. It's pretty safe for text. That's good to know. All right, so I want a black something for text, and so I'm going to use this as my source. So I'm just going to start dropping down the luminosity. To get something nice and dark, and also pull down that saturation. What if I do 15 and 25? That's still too light. Okay. Let's do 864. Cool. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to figure out my grayscale so I know what are my accessibility safe colors, and then we'll come up with, I don't know how many colors I need. I'm probably not going to need a ton of colors. Oops, and stuff's moving around. I might do some sort of yellow. I take this and I just scroll through a little bit. I don't know. Let's do this first. So I'm getting, what I'm going to do is change, let's see, 231.64.8. 231.64.8. 231.64.8. 231.64.8. And I have to remember this. This is a percentage. This is a percentage. And this is a percentage. Whoops. There we go. That's the color. 231.64.8. Yeah? Did I remember that correctly? 231.64.8. And the reason I'm entering that in as HSLA is so that I can tweak the opacity and find, based on this ratio, what's the next color. So what I'm going to be trying to do is find 7, 3.7, 3.5, and 1. Color contrast ratios. 7, 4.5, and 3. That's what I'm doing. 7, 4.5, and 3. Cool. I still want to go back to that page. Here we go. So we're going to drop this down until we see 7. Okay, we're getting close. Let's try 66, 67, 68, 69. So 69 looks like the closest thing, right? If I go to 68, I'm below 7. So I'm going to go back to sketch. And for the second box, I'm going to change the alpha opacity to 69. And then I'm going to keep going down. Now I want to get to 4.5. So let's do 55. That's a pretty lucky guess. 57. Okay, again, I'm doing the same thing. Just putting that in here. 57. And the last one is 3. The ratio here of 3. So let's see. 48, 45. Whoa, not 445. 45, 44, 43. Looks like 44. And now I've got my dark colors. Why does that look like so light? Guess that's it though, huh? And now what I'm doing, I'm using Control-C to use the eyedropper, and I'm grabbing them so that I can actually have the hex values for each of these. So they're all 100% opacity. Because I'm not going to be laying these over other colors besides white, so. There we go. Cool, so I've got my grayscale, and now I've got my one fun color that I'm gonna use for things. And maybe what I'll do is just get a few tints for this. And let's see. Systematic color tool. What was the name of the tool? Some color tool, material design? No. Well, we'll see what this one is. It's hosted on GitHub, and I'm not seeing it right here. Smart color tool, gradient control. Why can't I remember what it's called? Color scale generator. I think this is it. One of these two. This is the one I'm thinking of. So what I can do is, what's cool is I can come back here. Let me grab my hex code from Sketch and pop back in here and pull that up. And you can have these color angles going every which way, or you can just remove that. And you can pull a bunch of colors. Let's say I just want, this actually looks fairly nice. Let's just do 4 and 4. So I've got my color in the middle, and I've got 4 to the right, 4 to the left. Great. Just gonna grab this and paste it in Sketch. And I'm literally, let's see, I've got 9, right? So horizontal 9 with, I don't know what, 16 pixels in between. Great. Let's distribute these the same way. Distribute horizontally. 16 pixels, boom. And then I'm just going to use Control-C to copy, to get these color values. Boom, boom, boom. Great. All right, there we go. There's my simple color palette. Fantastic. I want to do something with this one just to make it stand out. Whoa. What is that? Center outside. Why does it get so weird? Huh. I think it's because of the way these things are in this. Delete that. There we go. Just do some sort of little highlight so I remember, hey, this is the like special color. Yay. Typography. All right, let's get some typography that goes with our cool little logo here. We might put this, let's put this logo in something. Let's use Anima's padding and give it a little bit of shape here. And then maybe we'll use our brand color, white. And then what can we do that's fun for this? To set it at an angle. Be really odd. The more I see that, the more I think, yeah, this looks like a totally, looks very much like a startup-y thing and not a refined business that you might trust. So I'm starting to have some concerns about my excitement about this funny font. What do you think? Chat, do we roll with this? Do we do something different? I'll leave this as an option as well. 58. No, 56. Yeah, 56. All right, might go this with something that just looks a little bit more trustworthy. So this is what's great about putting things up and being open and iterative. Like, you'll see things, you'll step away, you'll come back, and you'll see something, and you'll have a different feeling or vibe about it. All right, so we've got our color palette. Strike through. All right, next onto typography. So let's come up with, well, we can continue to use the open sans. That would be one. Sans, and we want to make it, want to use our font colors. So here's the idea. Just gonna put some examples here. Bold. Looks like we're using, yeah. I don't think we're gonna have more than, we're gonna have these headings. We have a subtext, and we have some labels. This one might. Let's do that. Where's my zoom? That's 100% zoom. Okay, that's quite a bit different. Let's make sure we have a really comfortable reading size. And let's go with a sans serif, serif font rather. That's kind of funky. American typewriter. But let's go to Google and see if we can find one that's trending or new. Let's look for something new that is serif. We can do monospace too. DM serif display. Oh, let's do something else. We want, this is for text. So let me grab some portion of text. The zoom power of the Nikon. Cool. Let's do that. Zoom power of the Nikon, and let's set that to, can you type in here too? No, you just have the slider. That's what's stupid about sliders. All right, whatever. Let's apply it to all of them. And, oh, that's interesting. This is serif with display and monospace. Okay, let's get rid of monospace. DM serif text. That looks pretty nice. They only have 2 styles though. Noto have a bunch of styles. Regular, medium, and bold. That's nice. Maybe we'll go with Noto serif. And I think I might already have that one. Let's find out. I do. Yeah. All right, great. We've got our, this will be paragraph text for descriptions. And cool, let's see how far we can get from there. What else do we need? Heading. We need something else for some subtext. Maybe we call this the 3rd level heading. subtitle. And I'm gonna go down to 18 and I'm gonna go all caps. And whenever we do all caps, to help make it more legible, we increase the spacing. So I'm gonna do 18 times 0.12, which is 2. I'm just gonna round to 2. There we go. I'm gonna have that in caps, and maybe I change the color. This one, let's see. Nice. Okay. So we've got some of the elements here. I'll call typography, we'll call that done for now. And then radios and checkboxes. Cool. So we're going to create a few different states, right? We're going to have, let's make sure we have all of the states so that if we have time, I'll go back and import this and update the visuals. So what are the different states that our radio buttons and checkboxes can have? Ralph asked why the 12. I multiplied it by 0.12 to be specific. I gave it 12%. I forget where exactly I read that. I think that's something that another design system was doing in terms of figuring out how much space to put it in, and maybe I'm even misremembering it. But it passes my check of like, yes, there's the additional space with all caps allows me to more clearly read each letter. So it passes my kind of gut check of, cool, this works. So somewhat arbitrary, but also I guess we could call that inspired. Okay, so states for radio buttons and checkboxes. Does it make sense though, Ralph, to add a little bit of space when we're using all caps? Just a nice little trick for making UI extra user friendly. Okay, so we've got default, right? We've got hover. We could use the same hover. We could do hover and focus. And then we've got selected. And I think that's it for ours. For this prototype, we don't have any sort of disabled state. Nothing like that. So I think that's it. Oh, I suppose we can do. I suppose what we can show is selected plus hover. If we want to say examples, really I guess it's not really a state, it's just selected and then hover has different styles, but we can show those things. All right, so let's go ahead and start making some fancy ovals. Let's think about making this. I'm gonna grab this paragraph text right here. I'm gonna pull it down. Where did it go? Did I paste it? No. What I'm thinking of doing is, let's do, oh, another tip about sketch and characters. Sometimes I see like weird things going on, like it'll say like negative 0.01. I'm just like, oh, that's weird. Let me just set it to 0. Be careful. Chad, my design partner on my current project at work, I remember him saying like, hey, do you guys know what's different between 0 and auto in Sketch? So auto says like, follow the rules for spacing that's set up to the font. And putting 0 in there actually says force 0 character spacing between it. So if you ever see 0 character spacing in Sketch, it's probably a good idea to remove it so that you have whatever the font designer has set on as the ideal spacing, by the ideal default spacing. So share that little tip with you. And then what I wanted to do was come in here and I want to give 1.5 line text, line height, line text, long day. So I'm simply going to multiply 18 by 1.5 and I get 27. Fantastic. That's also going to give me a radius for my button, because look what's going to happen. Oh, it lines up neatly, nicely. I love it. Cool. So this will be a radio button label, and this will be a radio button. So obviously I haven't really done any styling to it yet. I'm just going to come up with a few different, just going to duplicate this a few times for getting in these different states. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah? Yeah. Great. All right, so in thinking about this radio button, what are the elements of a radio button? Well, one is some sort of circular disc. That's the boundaries of the radio button, and then have something inside it. And I'm guessing it has to be odd number to fit in. There we go. I'm going to grab that brand color. And then I think what I'll do, oh, we don't have I'm going to create a white block here. It's always nice to have a few different whites. I'm actually going to take this and 1 opacity. Great. Oops, where'd it go? It's super light. It's probably even more difficult to see on the screen. And then let's do, actually let's make this one 2. And let's do this 4. And now we have some lighter grays that we can play with as well. So one thing you can do is you can actually create these as layer styles. So if I create a new layer style, I'll say like gray. What will this be? Maybe this will be white, light 2. Sure. And now I can come in here and for the appearance, I can say it should be light 2. And then the border, I'm going to use the same color, color dropper. And I'm just going to zoom out to 100% and see like, all right, that looks nice-ish. But that looks like a selected state. So I've kind of already done the selected state. Do I want to do anything special? If you really want to get in there and make things look kind of cool and elegant, you could add a little bit of a drop shadow to the radio button. Give it a little bit of a 3D look. For the color of that, I'm going to grab one of the dark blues. So it will look more like a reflection. It's going to be almost impossible to see at the resolution, but there is something kind of cool about it. All right, so that's going to be the selected state. What about the default state? So I'm probably going to want the same border width. I'm probably going to want something light in the background. Yeah, and then let's change that border color to the gray, which is our 3:1 contrast ratio, which is the minimum for UI component elements like radio button borders and such. Great, so we've got a default state. Let's go ahead. I'm just gonna move the order of this so that we're keeping everything the same way as those labels. Great, so now we've got default, and maybe I just change the label here. Default radio button. How am I doing on time? 7, all right, I'm doing okay. This is gonna be hover state. I don't even need to say it's a radio button, I'll just say state. Default state, selected state, and this is gonna be selected plus hover. Must be hover focus. Okay, and does everyone know what I mean when I say focus? Focus, I'm referring to if you're using your keyboard and tabbing through and giving something focus highlighted. In the browser, it's common to have, let's see, like, oh, I don't have any special things set up. Looks like I'm using browser defaults for UX Design Contest. I did a little bit more work on my own website with focus states. Anyways, that's focus state. So let's copy this. And then on hover, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? I want to give it a shadow maybe? Just a spread of another color. Maybe one of the lighter blue colors. Yeah, let's see how that looks. I think that could work. Yeah. And then for the selected state, I'll just, oh, I guess I don't have these things combined. There we go. Copy that guy. Put it down here, and then I'll get rid of that one. And then I'm gonna do the shadow 4 spread. Zero blur 4 spread with that same blue color I generated. There we go. That is it. And I'm gonna see 8 pixels on hover. Maybe it looks a little bit, I think that can work. We'll try it out. We'll try it out, see how it works. See how it looks. See if we need to do anything differently. Cool, so we've got our 4 states for, uh-oh. These are not connected. All right, I'm gonna distribute those vertically. 16, actually maybe 24. Give it a little bit more space. Cool, I've got my radio, my polished set of radio buttons. Now I wanna do the same thing for checkboxes. So checkboxes, we probably wanna make them look a little bit different. Maybe we can use a box shape Let's do it. I'm going to start with the same, let's see, 27. So I'm going to do a 27 by 27 square. And I'm simply going to give the states. I'm just going to copy paste the style. So I do Option Command C to copy the style and Option Command V to paste the style. And that's not what I want to do. And then I'll move them in place for the labels. Great. And then what I can do is, again, copy and paste these styles. Boom, like that. Pretty cool. Yes. Should we make these slightly less sharp and dangerous? Let's do it. We don't need to poke anyone's eye out with our checkboxes. So giving it a border radius of 2, which is going to be fairly subtle, but it does make them look less likely to poke anyone's eye out. And we need a check mark. And Ralph's got a question I see in chat, so let me look at this question. Ralph says, you know the broken window method you talk about? How does the process work for that? Is it simply improving the UI or UX? Do I still need to wireframe for that? All right, so to set context, something that people may have heard me say, and Ralph has heard me say in the past, is that oftentimes going in and improving the UX and UI of an experience involves fixing some broken windows. So oftentimes there are things that you can just spend a few minutes going through an experience, and you can identify things that are obviously broken, obviously confusing, obviously frustrating, things that you can go in and fix very easily, low-hanging fruit, obvious opportunities for improvement. That's essentially the process. So I think hopefully I answered the first part of that question. The process is just experiencing it, playing around with it, identifying, these really obvious big pain points that you encounter yourself, right? You don't need to go validate it with 10 people because, again, how many people do you need to tell you that, hey, there's a broken window, right? One. If you see there's a broken window, that's all you need. You don't need anybody else to help validate you in saying, yes, there's a broken window. And then, is it simply improving UI UX? Yeah, that's the big part, Ralph. This whole idea of finding broken windows is about finding a real obvious pain points and quickly solving them. Looking for real quick ways to go in and fix that solution. Do you still need to wireframe for that? So that's an interesting question. I guess it depends on the type of solution you're coming up with, and it also depends on what you mean by wireframing. For example, is this right here, is this what I'm doing? Is this wireframing? Kind of, right? I'm going to be creating these buttons. I'm going to stick them in some kind of flow like I've got going on here. Is it wireframing? Kind of. It's a prototype. It's a little bit higher fidelity, right? I'm focusing on some of the visuals and trying to be more thoughtful with the visuals. Yeah, maybe you can elaborate on your question if I haven't answered that part of it about the wireframing. I wonder if maybe Ralph's question is, do I need to actually show anything for that? Or can I just, is this an opportunity just to talk directly with a developer or someone who can fix it? Maybe. I think I'm going to use 10. I think I'm going to try 10 pixels of spacing. and see if that starts feeling too disconnected. Oops, wrong direction. Again, wrong direction. All right, come on today. All right. These are all out of whack a little bit now. Let's fix that. 24, great. I'm just gonna zoom out quickly. 10 looks very comfortable. Cool, I'm gonna go with 10. All right, Ralph's following up. Is making a case study from this type of project valuable to hiring managers? I think it depends on what skills you're demonstrating. So I think the whole idea of like finding broken windows that you can go fix, I think what's very powerful is it gets you into the habit of when you see a problem, not just passing it by, but actually taking some time and thinking about how you might fix or address the situation. So I think, I'm thinking about the project I'm doing at work right now. For example, Ralph, where we have investors on AngelList have this portfolio page that shows some information. And there are a lot of opportunities for the portfolio page to do a better job of communicating information. There are some standard ways that investors are thinking about in performance that we are not using. So for me, that's a broken window. It's like, okay, investors are thinking about this particular statistic or this particular number. This is what they want to know. This is what they are doing math to calculate. Let's just display that number. If I was just to do a case study around, I'm making a decision to simply display a number, that's not particularly interesting. But what might be interesting, for example, is a case study. If you wanted to focus a case study on research skills or quickly identifying what are those broken windows, that might be something interesting to highlight and talk about the process. How did I get from, okay, yeah, here's the current portfolio, to an understanding of, hey, there are these things that are perfectly normal, perfectly natural to investors, and we're not doing them. We're not communicating that information. We're not giving that information on the page. So something, I guess, to come back with that a little bit more. If there's simply something obvious missing from the page and you just put it there and it's just a piece of information like a number, that's not particularly wow or case study worthy in my book. But there are many types of broken windows that aren't simply missing information. So I'm thinking about Chad. He's my partner on the project. One of the ways we split some of the main portions of the project are for him to think about a table, like displaying all of the investments in a table with sorting and filtering and stuff going on there. Right now, there's very limited ways to do that, and so that kind of thinking, when there's a little bit more elaborate or complexity in the solution, I think that can make for fairly interesting case studies. All right, what is our checkbox missing? It is missing a check mark. So there's a whole bunch of different ways we could add check mark. We could use, I think I have font awesome. So let's just highlight some of these ways. I think it's just called check. Let's see here. Font awesome. Yeah, so I know it looks like magic, but it is. I mean, I typed in check and I got a check mark icon, right? So that's one way of doing it. Another way is simply building our own, right? A check mark is just simply two rectangles. And depending on what the size of your check box is, this might yield slightly better results, or it allows you to customize it a little bit more. I'm not sure exactly what size I want. Maybe this can help give me an idea. And do I want, I guess another question is, do I want a check mark versus like an X or something? I think I want a check mark. I think that's more familiar and more standard. And this is actually a pretty good size, but I want something a little bit chunkier. I made my radio button, radio circle fairly chunky. So I want to do something similar. And what I'm going to do is Command Shift R. I think, what did I do? I just got rid of something. No, there we go. I think it's Command Shift R, yeah. Oh, maybe maybe I have to convert to outlines first. Command Shift R. Shift Command R. I'm trying to do the rotate. Shift Command R. I don't know why it doesn't seem to be working for me right now, but no worries. I can always use these number controls. What this is going to do is it's just going to give me an idea about the length of these things. Because the length is pretty good, I just want to make mine a little bit chunkier. Let's have these things overlap. Like so. Let's see, this is 6. This is 5. This is 6. Just to duplicate these so I have something to go back from. Cool, look at that. Now I've got a little bit chunkier check mark. And if I put that in here and I make it blue and I get rid of the border, that looks pretty cool. And again, I'm going to apply the same logic that I did with the edges of the check box itself. I'm going to soften them up a little bit so they're not going to poke anyone's eye out. It's really subtle. You know, you could easily miss it at the actual resolution, but there it is. And I think that has a nice, it works pretty well. It's got a nice centering, and that's a check mark. Nice. I'll just group these guys up and throw them somewhere out here. So now we have our checkboxes and our radio buttons. Fantastic. Yes, and we have some typography stuff. We have some color stuff. Let's create this page real quick. So I guess I'm going to create a 1280 by, oh man, I don't want to do that. How do I... There we go. I guess I'll create 1280 by 800 view. I'm going to grab my logo. I'm going to put it at the, maybe put it in the top left. Okay. And then start adding some of these headings. Where are you going? What I can do for each of these, just in thinking of design system stuff, I'm going to create each of these as a symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and create a symbol. This one's going to be radio button slash default. And you'll see why I'm doing a slash momentarily. So I wish I would have saved that, actually. You'll see why. So now I have to retype it. And sometimes I type things slightly differently. Hover or focus. Hover and focus. So let me copy this. and then selected, create symbol. Now I can paste it in, and now I can say selected. And I can do the same thing right here, create symbol, and do selected plus hover and focus. Great. So what's the utility of using those slashes in the name? What you'll see is, actually why doesn't it show up like that? Let's see. Maybe if we go to document. Oh, wait a minute. Why? Let's go to my symbols page. What did I do wrong? Do I need a space? I feel like symbols should be doing the same thing as styles. Did I need a space? Maybe it's supposed to be like this. Let's see. So things are not working exactly how I expect them to, and it's frustrating. I guess it's because I only have radio button. Maybe I need to create some, let me go back and make some checkboxes too as symbols and see if things start to split up. Because sometimes it's just a matter of there's really no reason to split it up into buckets. So let's do that. Checkbox default. And I thought this format will work. Create symbol, checkbox, hover and focus. Create symbol, checkbox selected. And last but not least, checkbox selected plus hover and focus. All right, now, do I get it? There we go. This is what I'm looking for. So it's just a matter of until you have something else that's different, until you have basically two different parent level folders, it's not going to split up. But now I've got these nice checkboxes and these nice symbols that I can easily input. And that's going to make development great as far as putting this together, because what I can do is simply insert. I'm going to insert a default checkbox. Whoops. Actually, I don't want a default checkbox. I want a default radio. Radio button default. And now I have this override, so I can say Maui. And I can simply duplicate this. And what was the other one? I have San Francisco. And Tokyo. And if I really wanted to get fancy, I could also make cards for these. I know we're going to be talking about cards later. And we should probably get on that ASAP. But for now, I'm just going to put the spacing in. And then what's cool is you can go down in your symbols and you can go from here and you can say, oh, I want to show that someone has selected this. So now I'm going to, oh, did it change the shape of my radio button? That's no good. That's no good at all. Did you see that? Do you see that? Let's see. Whoa, look at that craziness. Look at that. That's no good. Let's up with that. Are they in fact different shapes? 27? No. They're not. What if I ungroup those? 153, 146. Maybe I need to have all the widths be the same. 235. So maybe I need to make all these 235. Let's try that, and let's see how long is this one. 235 as well. I think that might solve it. Let's find out. Whoa, funny now. Oh, because these haven't been updated. 235. Now let's see what happens. Haha, boom. There we go. So, pro tip there. Make sure when you're doing your radio buttons and your checkboxes that all of your symbols have the same initial width. That's going to help you out a ton. Because then what that's going to allow us to do is essentially storyboard, right? We say, oh, in the first step, it is default, so the user hasn't selected anything. And then in the second step, they selected Maui. Then what happens? All right, let's get this activities thing going. Create this list really quick, and then we're getting into cards. So I'm gonna cheat here and copy pasta so I know what's going on. This is like, what do you want to do in Maui? And then we can start again inserting the symbol. Checkbox default. Here we go. And we just override. Snorkeling. What do I have there? 4, 5, 6 different things. 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can whale watching. Pineapple farm tour. Bird watching. Oh, I picked bird watching. Seems like kind of an odd one. Luau. Sailboating. Sure. Great. Now I can select all these. Use runner, distribute vertically. Boom. Got those all set up. Cool. I've got one group. I've got 2 groups. I'm going to use an 8 pixel spacing, so just do some. There we go. 464. Great. Card time. All right, and we can copy this over. Because really, maybe we don't even see this until. Maybe just hide that. We don't see this until the next step, and then we can jump forward. And what we can do now, since we have all our symbols set up in this cool format, we can just go to selected, whale watching. Where's the check mark? Oh, holy moly, what the? Oh yeah, these are not the 235. Okay, hang on. These are all instances of the symbol. So where are the checkboxes? I see. The checkbox didn't actually make it into the symbol. Whoops. There we go. That looks good. How about the other one? Nope, it didn't make it there either. All right, let's get it in there. center that. No, we'll have it go up 1. And center. And 1, maybe 2. Should be up 2. There we go, that looks good. Now when we go back to our instance, we're gonna see it because we updated the symbol, and so that's automatically gonna populate because that's what symbols do. It's great. And now we've got this, and now we've got some more text to pull in. I'm gonna copy this. I guess I've got this screenshot here. Paste this here, and then plugless. We'll have the following. It probably should be a recommendation, but whatever. We'll have the following items ready for you at your hotel room. Let's cut this off at 600. And now let's make some cards, some better cards than what we've got here. So I think there are a few pieces of text that we might want. I think probably these. Paste those there, and then what else makes a card? Some sort of background, yes? Let's create a rectangle. Cool, there's the very first start of our card. I think what I'm gonna do is have a white card, and because I want the white card to have some contrast, right? Contrast is one of the visual design levers that we have. I'm just gonna start with that. I want to have some contrast, so I'm gonna give these pages a subtle color, and I think I'm gonna go one step beyond this. I'm gonna take this even lighter. 98, that's pretty light. And I'm gonna apply that to all of these as the artboard background. And that's going to help create some contrast. See? There we go. All right. Card. I want to round the edges so I don't poke anyone's eye out. And then I'm going to have an image. And I guess the option is, do we want to have, are all the images going to be on white backgrounds? If they are, then maybe having, you know, just an image centered will look nice, because let's see, let me see what I can find for these images. Nikon Coolpix, I think it was at Amazon. This is the camera right here. Copy image, back over to sketch. Image, image, image. Just paste that image like that. Nifty. And I do a 240 by 240 square. What? 240. That's pretty big. Maybe I don't need quite that big. Let's see, what else do I have? Is 162 small? That looks okay, yeah. Get rid of the border, get rid of the background. I'm gonna set this up spacing wise. Let's say these card patterns will have 24 pixels of padding. So I need to get that away from the edge a little bit. Why is it doing that? Is it because I've locked it? Must be. So this is Nikon Coolpix whatever whatever. Video camera. It's a long title. Yikes. And I want to have 24 pixels, so it can be 22, it can be 22 more, so 252. And then this will be a little blurb about it. So let's see, can we grab a little blurb? Where's little, is there a little blurb? Product description, yikes. Let's grab this whole thing. Let's say we have a long description. Why not? And we're gonna follow the same 252 guidelines. Maybe we'll develop a read more pattern because that's getting a bit crazy. So let's do that. I'm gonna create a group with all of these and I'm gonna duplicate it. I'm going to stretch out my artboard so I can see things. And then I'm going to create see less. This is going to be the link. And so I'm going to use, so I haven't added any of these colors to the document yet. That would be helpful. Boom. And I said it was gonna have 24. Oh, nice. I got lucky and that adds up perfectly. Now, these shadows are a little bit too intense and they're also not using any of my colors, so from my palette. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go grab color from the palette and you'll see right now it's pretty intense. And I'm gonna do 8. And I'm gonna do one more. 4 and 8. And I'm gonna do the same. There we go. See how much softer that shadow looks? It might be getting a little bit washed out over the video, but at least you should be able to see a softer shadow than we see on this example over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy my style, Option Command C, Option Command V to paste, and get that. And then well, where is it? There we go. Should I have it in line? Maybe I should just have it in line. I'm a little bit torn. Oh, also, these are not lined up correctly. There we go. 45, so that's minus 21. it feels a little odd, right? Out down here. So I think what I'm gonna do, show more, see more, show more, see more. I'm torn. Okay, and then I can make this card just that much smaller. So minus 40. Boom. And then let's do the same thing here. See less. Should be in the same boat. Minus 40. There we go. Cool. There is a card. We can go ahead and save this. This is going to be product card. Done. And then we can also have this be a product card. Create symbol. We can say product card expanded. And we don't have a slash for this one, but what we can do is we can rename it product card / default, or maybe we call it collapsed and expanded. So now we have product card collapsed expanded. We can change these. Ooh, they do not change well though. I suppose because, let's see, if we do 856, if we change the height, yeah, it works. Cool, so we've got that, and then we can, it'd be very easy for us to come through and do a few more products. $24, I think. And let's do that sunscreen. Alba Botanica coconut oil. Let's see if we can find that in. You know what? I bet. Pull this up on my other screen. I can find the. Here it is. So here's the data that I was using for the UX pin prototype. So I can actually copy this information in even faster as my override. Oh wow, that one goes even further. Let's cut something out of it. Alba Botanica coconut oil. Let's remove that. There we go. And then the description. It has a long description. This one's actually going to be tricky. I'm not going to be able to insert it with the see more, so I'm going to have to detach from symbol. But I still want it to be, I think it was 253. And then I can crop it appropriately. Right there. Unless we got everything into, oh, this is, I see what's happening. It's like, didn't that have a longer name? Sure does. Great. That's essentially the same. Oh, an image. Image would be good. Copy. There we go. So I think essentially what we could do is what I would recommend doing for starting, if I was doing this project over, updating this prototype, is now upload these sketch screens to UXPin. Let's just do that real quick, and then we still have a few minutes to talk about presentations. So hopefully that covered. We covered radio and checkboxes, covered cards. I suppose I'm supposed to be focusing on visual design, and right now it's super plain. It's very clean, but it's plain and boring. So I feel compelled to talk about texture and adding texture to this document, and also thinking about how is this laid out. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna group all this stuff together. And one option would simply be to center it in terms of creating balance. I feel like this is more like a mobile app experience and less desktop, but I'm gonna put all that stuff back and think about what are some things that could go here. What's some imagery or texture or stuff? What's some like travel stuff? So I'm gonna go to Unsplash. And I'm just gonna look for travel. 22,000 free travel photos. Great. And let's see, I suppose in terms of shapes that I'm looking for, it would be nice to get something that's like this, right? And let's actually see what size. I don't want it to be too close to this. Basically this. 528 pixels. So that's one thing, one simple thing we can do to improve this. Let's find a portrait. It could be this. We can try this. I have to try a few different things. Image. It's kind of nice. Let's maybe try a couple different in these other ones. Actually, let's see how it looks here. That's cool. I think what I'll do is I'll duplicate these. I don't like how it's so stupid how Sketch duplicates stuff, right? It's like it puts them in the exact opposite order. Because we can look for another portrait style. This is interesting because it's kind of like packing, right? It's like stuff that you need to bring. Let's grab this too. And then I'd like to find one more. Oh, this is interesting. It's like, it's not portrait, but I'm just gonna download that one. A road. This one's more for like flying. Distance travels. Oh, this is kind of cool. Out the window, plain window, yeah. Spend all day looking at all these cool photos, right? This one's got an empty seat, but something interesting about that one. All right, we've got enough. Let's go back to our sketch file and let me pull up my downloads and bring some of these in. Okay. Let's copy all these. We'll get a few different versions going here. And we'll add a little bit more texture. Cool, let's do this one. Okay, and I think this one might be the best. We'll see how it turns out. I like the colors of this one. Ooh. I like it. I do like it. And let's see, let's pick one of these two. Maybe this one because it's dark. Try that. I can just select all of these. Why didn't I do that? That would have been more efficient. Yeah, I can totally do that. And then something else you can do too, right, is since we have our colors, one simple way of making images play with your brand and your visual design that you've got going is take one of these colors. So I think we already have that color selected. So what I'm going to do is pick that color as the background, and then come on, style. There's a few things you can do. One is you can reduce the opacity, so you can play with opacity and bring in that color. Right? See how this starts to feel more like a lugless thing. The other thing you can do is, let me hide this for a moment so I get this all set up. So now I have the image in a layer on top of it. I'm just showing and hiding the one on top of it. You can play with the mix styles, so you can really get into some interesting color stuff. Look at that. That really makes the strong blue. It might be hard to see what's going on though in the images, so play around with the different options till you find one that you think works well. It's kind of cool. You're a little bit too bold. Something's got a border on it, doesn't it? Play around with a mix of huge. Ooh, yo. It's really creepy. Till you get something. Let's copy these. Paste. Paste. I think maybe doing that with this one would be really cool. So let's do that. Let me grab the bottom one. And then let's add some texture. I'm just gonna bump that below it, and then I think I was doing what? Luminosity. So maybe it doesn't even need it. Maybe just like that. You lose some of the impact of the color, but it still feels it feels even more of a branded experience, right? So I'll just hide this one. Paste this in. Cool. And then what else can we do to add some texture to this page? So texture can be a lot of things. It could be, let's see, here's an example of some texture. Let's make a little splash kind of thing. We can do fill it with that color, and we're going to place it behind it, and then we're going to grab one of our lighter colors. Maybe this one. Where is it? Maybe it's too messy. Those angles. $16 and $320. Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, maybe you have some rules about these things. Sticking out a certain distance. That definitely creates some texture. Might not necessarily be what you're looking for. Just trying to give some examples. Other things that we can do to add texture are thinking about like patterns of background. So let's say we that, and then we fill with I thought there's some, maybe it's global. There we go. Yikes. If you tile the image, and then lighten it. There you can see some, it's really hard to see, it washes out actually. I don't think that pattern necessarily works at all. Up and to the right, you want people to think positively about things. You can create some texture. Maybe this is just a swatch of texture too. Oops, where'd it go? Here it is. And then you can even increase the contrast. So they're little things, right? These texture elements, imagery, but it all goes towards making something that feels more like a legit experience and polished experience. All right, I'm sorry I didn't get to talk much about presentations. Presentation in terms of projects, and presenting this for the design contest, I'll give a few tips. I think one, it's great to start off by introducing yourself quickly. Like, hi, I'm Adam Ruff. Here's what I do. Here's why I did this contest. And then go through, just do a quick walkthrough. Like, I'm a new user, thinking aloud, almost like you're doing a usability test. Okay, so I'm here at Lugless, and I'm going to get started. First, it asks me where I'm going. So I've got these choices of where I can go. I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, so I'm going to pick Maui. Okay, come down and check that. Oh, I see I have some options here now. What do I want to do? These things look fun. But I'm most interested in seeing humpback whales. So I'm going to pick whale watching. And then, what happens next? Just go through your experience as a user. That will even help the prototype feel more real and that much more impressive. And in the final minutes, maybe call out a couple interactions, like 2 things you're especially proud of. Check out this interaction here. This has, all these different states it can switch from. I went in, I designed my custom checkboxes and custom radios. I've made sure the edges were all rounded so they wouldn't feel like they're poking anyone's eye out. And went back and added some custom images and things to make it more polished. Blah, blah, blah. Doesn't need to be long. Should be able to get through the presentation in less than 3 minutes. And again, it's just a way to practice talking about your project. All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you, Ralph and Frank and everyone else who showed up tonight. I will look forward to seeing you next Thursday back for more normal live product design office hours, plus the highlight of entries and contest winners. Until next week, have fun, be safe, and happy designing. Bye now.